the man they tried to erase. She didn't even read the invitation. Didn't pause to check the name. She simply ripped it clean in half and dropped it straight into the trash can beside the reception desk. Then, without so much as blinking, she told him to stop pretending he belonged there. Her exact words, "Stop pretending to belong here." The man standing in front of her was quiet, polite, dressed in a sharp navy suit that fit him perfectly. His shoes were polished, his hair neat, his posture calm and respectful. No flash, no arrogance. Just a leather folio tucked under one arm and the kind of self-assurance that doesn't come from what you wear but from knowing exactly who you are. But none of that mattered to her. Not his composure, not his invitation, not the fact that the towering building they stood in claimed to stand for justice, inclusion, and equality. Those were just words carved into the marble behind Hera's mission statement for marketing materials and quarterly reports. Words that didn't mean a thing when it came down to the moments that really counted. The security guard didn't ask his name. The receptionist didn't ask why he was there. And 5 minutes later, the operations manager who strolled down the stairs didn't ask either. "This isn't a place for hopefuls," the manager said, pointing toward the exit. "Get him out." They didn't know they were turning away the one person in that building with the power to bring their entire company to its knees. They never even bothered to ask. And Marcus Reed? He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't plead. He just stood there. Still. Watching. Silent. Because Marcus Reed understood something they didn't. Justice doesn't always knock. Sometimes it waits. It listens. And when the time is right, it walks through the front door without asking for permission. This is the story of how they tried to erase a man and ended up writing his name in history instead. It began the way so many of these stories do, with assumptions. The morning sun glinted off the mirrored windows of the Phoenix Equity Tower in downtown Chicago, its glass facade catching the early light like a beacon. Marcus stood outside the lobby adjusting the cuffs of his suit jacket, the leather folio tucked neatly under his arm. To any passing eye, he was just another businessman. Clean-cut. Purposeful. But unremarkable enough that the doorman barely glanced at him. "Deliveries go around the back, sir," the doorman called out without even making eye contact. Marcus offered a polite smile. "I'm not here for a delivery. I have a meeting on the 25th floor." The doorman's eyes narrowed. "With who?" "That information is with the front desk," Marcus replied evenly. "May I go through?" The doorman stared a beat too long, then stepped aside, not because it was his right to enter, but as though he were being granted a favor. Inside the lobby, marble floors gleamed beneath the sterile white light. The reception desk stretched across the entrance like a barrier between permission and exclusion. Behind it sat a young woman, blazer sharp as her gaze. She looked Marcus up and down, eyes flicking from his face to the folio tucked under his arm. "May I help you?" she asked, not unkindly but with the suspicion that so many learn to carry without even realizing. "Yes," Marcus said with a soft smile. "Marcus Reed. I'm here for a meeting." Her fingers tapped the keyboard. "And you're with which company?" "I'm not with a company," Marcus replied. "I was invited." That was all it took. The smile on her face froze just slightly. She leaned into her headset, her voice dropping to a practiced murmur. "Security, can you confirm? Do we have a read scheduled for guest access today?" Marcus stood still, hands relaxed at his sides. He knew exactly what was happening. He'd seen it before. He'd lived it before. And yet, even when you expect the sting, it still cuts. Behind him, the elevator chimed and a man in a gray three-piece suit stepped confidently past the reception desk. The woman behind the counter brightened. "Good morning, Mr. Langford," she chirped. "Top floor today," he replied smoothly, flashing his access card. The turnstile clicked open without a hitch. "No questions. No delays." Langford gave Marcus a passing glance. Just long enough to acknowledge the man standing patiently at the desk, but not long enough to offer recognition. The receptionist looked back at Marcus as if seeing him for the first time. "Security says you're not registered. Are you sure you have the right building?" "I'm sure," Marcus replied. His voice didn't waver. "It happens sometimes," she offered with a shrug, her tone softening. "People show up at the wrong place." "I'm exactly where I need to be." She gave the faintest of smiles. "If you'd like to wait outside." "Wait," interrupted a deeper voice. One of the building's uniformed guards approached, his arms crossed over his chest. Problem? The receptionist nodded toward Marcus. He's not on the list. The guard eyed Marcus slowly. You got an ID? Marcus calmly reached into his jacket and produced his license. The guard stared at it longer than necessary, turning it over as if he might find some hidden clue. He handed it back without apology. Let me ask you directly, the guard said. You here for a delivery? Maintenance? Neither, Marcus replied. I have a meeting. The guard frowned. Well, there's no pass issued for you. Company policy says you can't wait around here. A few feet away, near the elevators, a woman in red heels hovered, pretending not to listen but clearly following the exchange. Marcus noticed, but he gave no sign. Would you mind calling Robert Endicott's office? Marcus asked quietly. I believe they're expecting me. The name did something the license hadn't. The receptionist blinked. Mr. Endicott? The CFO? Marcus nodded. She hesitated, then reached for the phone, murmuring into the headset. Yes, this is Kristen at reception. There's a Marcus Reed here saying he's expected upstairs. Silence. More silence. Then she hung up and looked back at Marcus, her smile now gone entirely. They're not answering. The guard took a step forward. Sir, you need to leave. I'm happy to wait right here in the seating area. The guard's expression hardened. This isn't a waiting room. I'm not going to ask again. And just as the standoff thickened into something heavier, the elevator dinged. The doors opened. Daniel Shaw, head of legal affairs, stepped out. His eyes scanned the lobby and landed on Marcus. Marcus? His voice held genuine surprise. I didn't know you were coming by today. Wasn't meant to be announced, Marcus replied. Thought I'd stop in. Daniel shook his hand firmly and turned to the receptionist. He's with me. Guest pass? Irrelevant. Clearance? Full. The guard stepped back, his jaw tight but silent. Marcus didn't look back as he followed Daniel through the turnstile, but he felt their eyes. He always did. The elevator ride was quiet. Charged. And when the doors opened onto the 25th floor, Marcus stepped out with the same steady grace that had carried him through every door where he was told he didn't belong.